Hello, everyone. Welcome to Achieving Success with Olivia Akin. I am your host, Olivia Akin. Each week, we will discuss the roadmap of achieving your personal and professional success. We give you real-life stories on growing personally and professionally to achieve your life and career goals with the help of some top-notch guests. Today, we are speaking with Rod Sickler. Rod boasts an impressive 44-year tenure as a hairstylist. He serves as the owner and president of ID Hair North America, as well as the owner and primary educator of the Rod Sickler Salon and Spa, Clutch Cuts, and Images by Rod & Co. His passion for mentoring led him to establish the Royal School by ID Hair, a college specializing in cosmetology, barbering, and nail artistry. Additionally, he is the founder, producer, and director of the acclaimed Rod Sickler Red Hot Winter Shows. Hello, Rod. It's fantastic having you on the show today.
Hi, Olivia. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to speaking with you today. Thank you so much.
Of course, and I want to dive in because there's so much we can dive into with your career, your entrepreneurial spirit. There's so many directions this show could go today. So to start off the show, can you tell me what success means and looks like to Rod Sickler?
You know, that to me is one of the toughest words in the English language as far as it goes, because I hate to say I don't believe in success, but I try to never quantify the word success, because I think if I have done 10 things okay, there's 20 things I could have done better. So I know this is weird, but I try to keep that out of my life, and I'm always trying to achieve more. So probably not the answer most people look for, but I'm very, very careful about ever using that word.
So for you, that being said as well, when you go down a journey, at what point do you start to go, okay, these are the things I could have done better? Is it a progression throughout your journey, or do you, at the end of accomplishing something or getting a task done, do you look back and go, okay, what could I have done better? And what is that approach like for you?
Yeah, I think first off, I believe business is hard every single day. You know, there's challenges just when, and that's why I think you don't really ever uh, rest on your laurels of what success is, because you can have a great day, then something will crop up and it's, oh my gosh, I've got to put out this fire, that fire. So, you know, you're fighting fires every day. And even with my show, Rod Sickler's Red Hot Winter, which I've done 22 years, and it's we just wrapped it a week ago, and it's a Vegas style variety show. I actually bring in 6 acts from Vegas. I have a 40-member band with over 20 singers. I use like 15 dancers, over 30 models, stand-up comedians, and it's just as much as this Vegas, and as much as we were sold out both nights, and looking to raise awareness and raise money for charity, which we did this year, which is for Aunt Martha's Health and Wellness Center. It's a federally qualified health center here in the state of Illinois. It's one of the top providers here in the state, and then also the #1 provider for the Department of Children and Family Services. So even when you look at that, we wrapped it Saturday. On Sunday, I was writing next year's show on, hey, this was great, but I think this could be better. I could do this, I could do that. And I like to do that when it's fresh in my mind. So I hate to say I already have next year's show written. I kind of do. I don't have all the music picked and my circ acts, because I brought in 6 Vegas circ acts this year. I mean, straight from Vegas, you know, and from some of the top shows out there and some of the top casinos. So for me, it's like, all right, how can I do better? You know, you have a good morning here and then a tough afternoon in business. So it's about, you know, working with your CEOs or your managers and saying, okay, how can we address that problem? How can we do it better? So, and I think, you know, I've been in business now for over 40 years. I started my first business when I was 24 years old. I'm almost 63. So I think there's nothing like experience, and I think there's nothing like the fortitude that it takes for business. And I mean, it's every day. And businesses to me are kind of like raising children. When you have a new business or a new child, it takes a lot more time. It takes a lot more of your energy and more hands-on approach to that sort of thing. And if I'm a good father, then I need to have a good mother being my CEO or my manager to do that are really get involved, where, you know, like the salon I'm in right now, I have 3 salons. My biggest one is 19 years old, where I'm still here every day. It's where I do hair still, because I do still do hair 5 days a week. But for me, it's more like it's like having a 19-year-old teenager, that's off to college, where they still need you. They still need major advice, not the day in, day out stuff. It's like when I come here, I if you came to my salon, I don't even know how to ring you out. I don't do that. I don't know how to work the computer. For me, that's not what I do. For me, it's about making the big decisions and overseeing everything and making sure it's going in the right direction.
And I love how you just put that analogy to being a parent, because it is that child when starting a business, whatever it might be, and you wear many different hats, so you know it firsthand. But it's sometimes, okay, yes, you're growing it. Then it moves to a different stage in life, and it doesn't need all of your necessarily attention in the same way. It needs attention. I think a lot of people think too, sometimes if you put the right processes in place, you can step back and not have to think about anything. And that's really not the case. So, with all of your different businesses and then
Yes.
being in different life stages, if we play with
Yes.
that analogy, how do you decide, okay, when is the point where we'll take it, it goes from infancy to child to teenager? When do you kind of get that sense of how the business is growing and where it is in its life cycle?
Yeah, I have 9 different companies all together. So a lot of it depends on my co-parent, who is my manager, CEO. And some of them, I don't believe in micromanaging. I'm not that guy. And, I like to be more of a big picture thinker and take in the direction that I see it going. And I think most people don't like to be micromanaged. I don't micromanage unless I need to. And at that point, it's kind of like your child that's, say, I have some toddler businesses right now. Well, they require a lot from the other parent and then, for me to come in, I have some that would be in like junior high. Well, that's where everything's going okay until it's not. And that's where, oh, well, you just came home and I see you have a D in math and you have a D in English and you're doing okay in social studies, but that's kind of where I think you have to go in to focus. I put my attention when it needs to be there. I have a couple businesses I have great managers and doing that. And I have a lot of family businesses too. We have my largest company is ID Hair North America, and that is a product line that we import hair product from Denmark and we distribute throughout the U.S. We're currently going online right now. We just took it online. It was where we went just to salons, but we just are working now to take it more to national exposure. We started that in January. So, I've been more involved with that right now, helping with that and having meetings and working with our production company that helps us do that. So then the CEO and I, who's my daughter-in-law, and she's quite brilliant, but, some days she requires more than others. Some days it's not. With my largest salon, I'm here and I have a manager here, but I'm still here every day. So I'm a little more involved with the personnel. I have 2 salons, one in this town, one in the other. I spend very little time with that. The managers are great and they handle that. Now with my company, Red Hot Productions, that's the one that my son and my wife and I kind of work together, and we're just coming off our biggest show of the year, to where let me put it to you this way. We wrapped not this weekend, but the weekend before. Last Sunday, I got 12 hours sleep, and that was more than I had the combined 3 days before that. We were running 18 hours a day on 3.5 hours sleep, and that's what you have to do to get shows done. And I've worked in the show industry now for, gosh, I guess close to 40 years, late 30, and I've been fortunate in that I've been a hairdresser for almost 45 years now, but I started doing shows when I was 24. And since then, I started with different companies before I owned my own. The 2 would be Malibu C that I worked for several years as their director of education, and then Sexy Hair Concepts out of Los Angeles, where I was the director of talent. And I've been fortunate enough to do shows in every major city in the U.S. and then in 17 different countries. So having that and doing that and then bringing that into my company, Red Hot Productions, which sometimes it'll be very dormant for a while, but it was all consuming the last month for that. And then also I produce concerts through Red Hot Productions. One thing that I do is I produced over 70 concerts for the University of Illinois. Being here, I live in the same city as them, so I produce concerts before every football game. I produce concerts for the Student Affairs Division. So with doing that, sometimes I produce and perform, sometimes I produce, perform, and direct, which I did last weekend. So it's all encompassing, and it's like the child that needs it the most gets my most attention when it needs to it. But it's like anything, that sometimes you neglect the other kids because you have to focus on one. And then so this last week I've been really refocused back at my salon, and then and this week then letting my people go out, and we're still collecting money for the charities and doing that. And there's still a lot to finish up and to wrap up. So I have a really good team of people, and I think as I've grown, my mother used to always, where she's passed away, but she used to always worry about me. She, as my companies kept growing, and she would worry. But what I found, it almost gets easier for me the larger things go, because I'm not that guy that, like I say, I'm not a computer guy. I'm not a technical guy. I'm more, I hate to use the word visionary. That sounds arrogant. I don't like that. But I have to think of those things and guide the ship that way. And I would much rather do that. So it's almost easier for me the larger things get too.
And it also sounds like, I know you don't like the word, you come up with concepts, you see the vision, and you help lay that foundation. But I think what also probably helps, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that you don't feel this need to be all hands on deck all the time and really rely on the people. And I think a lot of times as individuals, we get roles mixed up between management roles and leadership. And sometimes the difference between a good manager and a good leader is the ability to actually put people in place. There is a big difference, and people forget about that.
I love what you said. I've never heard that. And I think to respond to that is Olivia, I want to be a great leader, not a good manager. Okay. And I want to be able to that. And then the other thing too, I think is once you get a brand in place, and my website is rodsickler.com, that you go to, that has everything. And once we establish a brand, it's easier to do things. For instance, we recently opened a weight loss clinic here in my salon, and my salon is large. One building, we have 9,000 square feet. And we have the school on one end and on the other end. And then we have a 3,000 square foot salon and spa. And then part of it too is we have about 1,200 square foot doctor's office where I rent to a spine surgeon who uses it during the day. Then at night, we use it one night a week. We do a weight loss clinic. And, it's real easy. Once you have the brand strength, it's easy to go in different directions. And I work with one of my doctoral friends, Dr. Jason Jerabek, who's here. And then my brother, who's retired, 63, he's almost 73. And he runs that company for me right here inside my salon. So it's really cool that I'm working with, my family, with my daughter-in-law as CEO, my brother as running one of the other companies. But, we do the branding and the marketing, and I provide the facility. It's very easy because you can do so much cross-promoting for that sort of thing. I have a manager at one of my salons in another city called Rantoul. She's worked with me for 30 years. She's also my office manager at the salon, and someone I trust, and it's like family to me. So I'm really blessed that, for me, trying to be a good leader is that. And then working with my son and my wife on my show, Red Hot Winter and Red Hot Productions, to doing that. Because sometimes too, as a good leader, when I'm doing a creative process, because my show is, like I say, very Vegas-esque, and in some ways bigger than Vegas. You take, I brought in 2/3 of one of my favorite shows from Vegas this year and added the 40-member band, added the dancers, added the models. I do a hair show, runway fashion show. We do burlesque. We have, a lingerie runway. We do all these, even more so than what they do in Vegas. Where Vegas is a 90-minute show, mine's a 3-hour show. Even more than that. But as a leader and being the choreographer of all that, now I have a vision. I have a lead dance choreographer. I have a music director. These are the songs I want. Have a music director. So it's having this layer of people. But what sometimes having, especially my son being my associate director, he's the one person that's not afraid to say, Dad, I think that's wrong, or you should try this. Where other people, sometimes, I don't mean to be intimidating, but I'm a tough director, have to be, because basically once you bring everyone in from all around the country for this show, we have 5 days to put the show together, and the bulk of it 48 hours. So, I'm very direct when it comes to that. Not the person I want to be in real life, and I tell everyone that, but I say, trust me, you'll love me when this is over, for me being tough like that. But, sometimes people won't want to tell you things that they think it, but having him telling me, no, Dad, don't do that. So, you still need to have that person too, and that's him.
And that is something I wanted to touch upon. There's a few questions that keep popping up in my head because we're having such a
Sure.
great conversation here. But I love the fact that you bring in your family and you partner with family on a lot of different ventures. And everyone, it seems like, too, it's not like, everyone is involved in everything. It's
Right.
certain people that align with certain areas that you're doing. How do you know, okay, this would really be good for my daughter-in-law to be a part of, or my son, or do they come to you with ideas?
Really, yeah, that's interesting. Kind of both, and it's like, I think most leaders or even managers will tell you it's hard to find people that you can trust and be loyal to you. And I think if someone's been with me for more than 20 years, they're part of my family as well. Whether it's work family or real family. But when I look at it, my son helped me, was CEO of ID Hair North America before he left a few years back, 2 years ago. Then my daughter-in-law took over, and it was the right timing. He was the one that we needed to get it to where it was, and she's the right one to take it over where she's at now because of her skill set of understanding marketing and computer and taking it online with my school. And for me, that's one of I think I never get proud because God or whatever you believe in will teach you humility very quickly. So I might take 30 seconds, maybe 3 times a year to be proud, and that's it for something. And I always want to stay. It's weird because I want to stay humble, but also I have to have a strong vision for people to follow you, right? Because the choices you make affect people. But I think having a school now, we opened it, and I have partners with that. We opened that, about a year and a half ago. We're already doubling the size of it. So it's great because not only am I a barber teacher and a cosmetology teacher, but my wife is also getting her barber license, and she's an esthetician and has her teacher's license. So I have family that we can all fall back on each other. Like say with ID Hair North America, my partners that are there have been friends of mine for over 25 years, with my daughter-in-law running the company. The person that runs my salon in another city, Rantoul, has been with me 30 years. She doesn't like me to say this, but we dated for 9 years. And now we're just friends. And she's happily married. I'm happily married, but still family, One of my other salons is from a person who managed it that I've known her since she's a little girl. And so with my weight loss clinic friends and my brother running it, and with Red Hot Productions, my son and I working together. So for me, it's about, and then my salon manager here at my big salon in Champaign, I've known her since she was a teenager. She went to school. I also, in my life, have directed pageants. So like I did pageant directing, like the Miss Deaf Illinois pageant for people that are hearing impaired, which I'm hearing impaired now too. So I'm glad I did that years ago. And I directed the Miss Rantoul pageant. And the person that's my manager now is one of my former Miss Rantouls, and she was also my show coordinator for Red Hot Winter. So really in every company I have, and we also do we have a company called Atlas Genetics, which is DNA research that we can do to help with weight loss and better living. We can give you a Bible about 130 pages on how to live your life better. That's specifically for you. And probably the biggest problem with that, we're almost ahead of the game. It's almost hard for doctors to understand or for doctors to take the time to do that, but it really helps with our weight loss clinic as well. Once again, another really close friend of mine too, close friends I'm partners with. So in really every company I have managers or partners that I've been friends with for probably at least a decade or more. And it's really hard to find that loyalty in any business that you have. But for me, I think the gift I have, I don't have very few, and I know this, is that I'm not that smart. So it helps me be not that smart because sometimes you have paralysis by analysis and you overthink things, and I'm more of a gut feeling guy, and it's about relationships. I think the most, if you're looking for the word success, the most success I've had in building companies is through having relationships with people, and relationships is to me the number one thing for business for that.
And you touched upon something, and I'm going to back up for a second because you said one sentence in there too, which if people are watching this and not listening, you saw my face kind of peek up because you said you weren't that smart, but I
Right.
would 100% contradict that statement because it looks like you're pretty smart with all these ideas and how you lean into it and you get creative and really that. And I think sometimes we're all our own worst critics sometimes. And
Well, here's what I say to that. Two things. First off, I'm not educated. I have no college education. Now, as far as in hair, I would have like a PhD in that because I have almost every degree you can have. I'm a barber teacher, cosmetology teacher. Also, I can give continuing education credits here in the state of Illinois. So for that, my resume is very strong. And matter of fact, I just got back last month too from New York Fashion Week, where I judged a big hair couture. So I have a very strong resume when it comes to doing hair. But when I say, first off, someone told me this years ago. They said, "Do you realize that half the world is below average in intelligence?" And that kind of rang true. And so what I mean by that, I'm not that smart in that I'm not educated in the typical world. But I think sometimes being savvy is better than being smart, and being able to have visions and putting them out, I think, is a good thing. And I think sometimes when you see people like, maybe doctors, for instance, and not to pick on doctors, my father-in-law's a doctor, but when you look at couple of my closest friends are doctors, and sometimes when you see that, you take someone like that is so educated and they've had to spend so much time getting their PhD and their doctorate and doing all that, they're so hyper focused on that one thing, and sometimes people are so smart at that one thing that maybe they don't get to see the big picture. And I like to say, okay, I'm not that smart in any one thing. I have a few maybe things that most people can't do. I think I'm pretty educated at hair, and I think I have a pretty good vision on how to produce and put shows together. That I know for sure. But other than that, there's not a lot I can do that well. So I just kind of stay in the lane of the things that I know and try to I have some interesting ideas and try to be timely with them, especially like with the weight loss clinic. We got in at just the right time. Before that, with this doctor, we had a doctor's office that so we run the office for him. We do the business part with my brother and I, and where we did a medical marijuana, where we could approve people for medical marijuana to get their medical marijuana cards. But then that was great at the time, but it kind of went away a couple of years ago when in Illinois marijuana became legalized. So so we switched from that, and then we were kind of dormant for 8 months to 12 months, and then we realized that weight loss is a big thing. And it's like, for me, I've been on the weight loss. That's the shot. You can either do the semaglutide or the tirzepatide shots, which are, as either Mounjaro, tirzepatide, or Ozempic. Wegovy of the semaglutide, and I got on it myself. I got on the scale the day after Thanksgiving, weighed 231 pounds. And you don't really think you're overweight till you lose the weight. And I started on the shot. It was the first part of December. And as of last week, the day before my show, I said, I got to get ready for red hot winter. The day of the show, I was down 27 pounds. I was at 204 pounds. So, and just feel better. And it's like sometimes, it's approved. The insurance doesn't approve that. So what we do, we can do it about a third the cost that you would go into a normal facility. We do it concierge wise. We do evening appointments. We do concierge medicine for that in a nice private doctor's office. And you're coming into a boutique experience in my salon, in the doctor's office, inside my salon. So, and I find that, I know there's a lot of controversy over that, because it's the Hollywood drug and this sort of thing, that all I know is my joints feel better. Take a 25-pound weight. I have a personal training studio in my salon as well, right next to me here. I can go right out here and go pick a 25-pound weight up and carry it around all day. See if you don't feel better when you lose that. My A1C's down. I'm off my cholesterol meds. So there's something to be said that, being overweight is almost an epidemic here in the United States.
So, Rod, for you as well, having these different businesses, and they are very versatile, right? And you brought it back
Yes.
to creating that brand and then being able to basically, I want to call it branches. You get to branch out.
Yes.
You get to do different things. So for you, how do you know when either an opportunity comes to you or you have that vision in your head, when it's actually the right time to move forward with that?
That's a great question. For me, I think it's a gut feeling. A little. I'm not a huge researcher guy. I'm a people person, so it's listening to and I don't get every one of them right, but I think it helps too at my age, 45 years almost in the hair business. I'm three months away from being 45 years in. So for me, having the brand and being able, money to me is not everything. So I don't have to be rich or wealthy. I just have to, like for me, I just want to have a comfortable home and a nice life. And I can get that from my salon and doing hair because I've been doing hair for 45 years. So that allows me to be a little more speculative with other things. So I can take more risks and more chances. And some of the stuff is less risky because if I bring it inside my salon, I'm already paying rent. I have a marketing person that does the marketing for me. So it's just plugging it in. So the cost can be very minimal with the results being very great for that. And then at the end of the day, it's about art, beauty, wellness, creating that atmosphere. I live with a motto of four things in business. And in my business is creating art at 100% of my ability at all times, whether it's doing hair, whether it's doing a show, creating the best art possible for people, the best entertainment, the best sort of concert, certainly the best Vegas style variety show here in the Midwest that you want to. So that's art. The other is service, and is creating a great service. If I have a pet peeve, it's going someplace with poor customer service, because I think poor customer service is either one of two things, either lazy or a bad attitude. And there's no excuse for me. I have maybe with my school and salons, 50 plus hairdressers that work with me. And I can understand you're going to make mistakes when it comes to hair, but you should never, ever, ever make a mistake with your attitude or with customer service. I have zero excuses for that. So I'm very strong when it comes to that, on my feelings on that. The third would be passion. And passion is something that you have or you don't. I can't teach passion. I can't teach work ethic. I can help motivate that, but I can't create that burning desire in someone. And I think that's one thing I've always had, is a lot of passion. I think that's how you get through 18-hour days on 3 hours sleep, is passion. That's what I did last week. And then the other things, and especially since COVID, is safety. and it's about keeping people safe. I remember when we came back to the salon industry, even though we're trained on it, we were shut down here in the state of Illinois. We couldn't work, even though we're trained on disease control and anatomy. So there are people that could be open that I didn't understand, but I remember that was before the vaccine, and I lost very good friends to COVID. I lost my mother to COVID. That was the hardest time I remember in my career, have to be aware of everyone, keeping people safe, because that was before the vaccine. And if we didn't do things right, that meant keeping the mask over the nose and putting people separately to blow dry their hair. I mean, we strived to be the safest place, and I'm proud that we won an award here in Champaign County as the best COVID protocols of any business in our county. Doctors were using me. One of my doctor friends, Dr. David Fletcher, he was doing a lot of lectures because he has that's one of his specialties, of being able to control things like this, and he was using my salon as an example. And I was proud of him. Even going to dentist office and doctor's office, our protocol was better. So art, service, passion, and safety. I think if one of my staff members comes in and they're doing art to the best of their ability, they're passionate, they're giving 100% customer service and keeping their clients safe. If they make a mistake, what could I ever say?
And I think you touched upon a few really good points. One of them is I 100% agree with you on the service part. We all have bad days, but at the end of the day, you are there, someone is paying you for the experience, not just potentially in your situation cutting hair, but they go there to relax, to, get away sometimes from other things going on. If you bring more stress in, that client's not returning. I think service, when you think of the service industry in general, you really have to remember that it is something people are coming to, not just for what you're providing, but the experience. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day,
100%.
because they are there for that one experience. I look at Disney, I say they're wonderful with experiences because they know that it might be something you never get to experience again. And the second you elevate someone else's experience to the next level, it's not just a return on you because now they're going to come back more. It's
Yes.
word of mouth. And
I
I want to, oh, sorry, go on.
I couldn't agree more with you, Olivia. I couldn't agree more.
And I want to ask you, I know we're getting towards the end of the show, sadly, because I feel like you and
Yeah, I'm having a blast. I could talk to you for hours.
I know, I feel like we're really having some good conversation. We could keep
Real.
going.
This is real.
But
Yeah.
I want to touch upon something I'm a big advocate for that I have continuously heard you bring up in your answers today. And it has warmed my heart every time you've seamlessly mentioned it, like it is just something everyone should be doing, is the fact of how you consciously make your businesses or what you're doing with your show, with the salon, where you're giving back to the community in some form. And that is really big for me, whether it's your local community, your national community. So for you,
Yeah.
what is that importance like, and why do you try to make whatever you're doing tie back to giving back to the community?
First off, I think those of us that can need to help those that can't. That's number one. Number two, I think it's the way I grew up. I grew up in a home where my father was disabled. So growing up that way, and then also, and not until I was an adult, I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. So having Tourette's and being whatever that is, having that neurological disorder that I have, I'm lucky. I feel like I'm high functioning still to be able to do what I do, but that could have gone the other way for me. So I just feel blessed that I had a chance at life, that my wires went in an okay direction. I mean, Tourette's is a hard way to live, but I can still have a somewhat normal life, and I still have been able to achieve. And I don't use the word success, I use the word growth at business. I'm still able to grow businesses, and I've still been blessed to have a beautiful wife that's my best friend, and to have a chance at love in business, and to be able to work. So I think for me, it's probably the way I grew up in that that I can function. That God's blessed me with that, I think is an important thing for me to why I want to consistently give back. And like I say, I'm not that smart, but I have a couple gifts that other people don't have, especially when it comes to putting a show together. And I've learned that if you can, and for me, doing fundraisers here in my town, not only do I do Red Hot Winter, but also I direct Dancing with the CU Champaign-Urbana Stars, which is for the Boys and Girls Club, the Don Moore Boys and Girls Club. So I have my hands on two of the biggest fundraisers here in town. And I think it's the next generation of what fundraising should be. It's not just, where you go to a dinner that's okay, and then you go and hear a speaker that may or may not be of interest to you, and then they maybe have an auction, that's it. For this, I want to be able to entertain, and because Ken, I've worked on this for years, so I'm able to entertain and raise money together. And the big thing too is raising awareness. Some of the things too is like, regardless of what money you raise, like for instance, we just got, for the charity that we work with, we'll get, $80,000 worth of marketing into the marketplace in 4 to 5 weeks. That's huge. That's huge. Some companies, they don't have a budget for marketing for that for 20 years, especially some of the smaller people I've worked with. So the fact that God's given me that gift, it's not for me, it's for me to use to help others. And so that's why I'm doing, like I say, having Tourette's, but I can still function. That's a big deal to me.
And I love that. And I think a lot of what we all go through in life can really shape us. And I think it's important. And I love how you brought this up through your journey and through your story, and sharing that with us is really the fact that you never know it. I'm going to tie it back to also something you said in the beginning. You can get very humbled very quickly. And that's a word you said. And I think a lot of us forget, as we hit different mile markers that we've set for ourselves, that we're on an upward trajectory, and we forget that sometimes we could slide back, whether it's due to just what's going on in the environment, a health issue. And there's really that capability that while you're on your upward trajectory, that you could turn around and lend that helping hand to someone who is not at the same place you are, or might not. When we talk about children's and the Boys and Girls Club, of looking at it as that's the next generation, and whether we like to admit it or not, they are not in those situations by choice. They are too young to have a choice in those situations. And so let's pay it forward so that our own life experiences, you can end up bettering someone else's. So thank you, Rob, for all of your insight today. I want to also ask you, what are some ways that people could get in touch with you if they want to connect? Your website, whatever you might want to share.
Yeah, just go to rodsickler.com. That has most of my stuff on it. And, feel free, if they ever really want to reach me, they could call the salon. Can I close with a couple thoughts with what if I think it's time to close, is what you said, and I don't mean to get too dark, but life is a fine balance. Business is a fine balance. And I had an unfortunate thing when I was 13 years old. I watched my father get killed in front of me because he was disabled. He got hit by a car. So learning that it's like, I don't try to leave anything on my bucket list, because I see how quickly things can go in life and in business too. And the other thing too about trying to do things, having Tourette syndrome, you'd be shocked at how many parents, and I've been very outspoken about it over the last few years, especially I did Red Hot Winter for the Tourette Syndrome Association of Illinois a few years back. And at that point, I learned that so many parents have reached out to me when their children are diagnosed with Tourette's, because the poor kids, they think their life is done, like they lose a lot of hope when they're diagnosed with that. I didn't get diagnosed until I was in my 30s with, I just thought something, I knew I was odd in some way or different. And for that, I think it's important in helping the kids, and whether it's kids with Tourette's or without Tourette's, or like I say, helping those of us that can certainly have a responsibility to help those that can't.
And I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I 100% agree with you that, sometimes it's when unexpectedly hits that
And it
you,
will.
yes, and it will.
And it will.
And you see that perspective that someone else just doesn't have the clarity on. For me, I was, and people who listen have heard me brought it up before, but I was diagnosed with epilepsy, very strong kind that I had a rare trajectory that most individuals don't have through
Wow.
my epilepsy diagnosis 20 years ago. So when people look at me now, they don't see someone who has epilepsy. You would never know, but it was a very big part of my life. And I
Right.
get kind of like yourself, I get a lot of people who reach out, whether it's even within the healthcare field, they go,
Right.
there's these myths out here. What is your own experience? Because there is so many things that can be misperceived. And until you go through it yourself, you don't really know the difference between what is factual and how to handle it versus what could be myth and what to really expect in those situations.
And Olivia, I think that's the key, what you just said to life and especially to entrepreneurship, hope. You got to have hope. And people, when they reach out like that, they're looking for hope. When people listen to shows like yours, I think they're looking for people that have been down the road. They're looking for hope, like I've learned things from you today, and that gives me more hope. And, I'm just trying to live with hope in my life every day. And what can I do better every single day? So how can I keep growing? How can I be a good leader? Thank you for that today. And, how can I have hope and give hope to others?
And I think, let me tell you, from listening to you today and us talking, you gave me hope too. And I really enjoyed the conversation.
Me too. I had a great time with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank
Can I
you.
call you my friend now?
Yes. And we're
Okay.
probably, who knows what partnerships I might be showing up to help you with some of your different nonprofits. Cause that is my go-to. I love giving back to the community. So
You
we're
should
definitely
really
gonna
come
be,
see Red Hot Winter
yeah.
sometime. Yeah, I'd love to have you there.
So that being said, there has been so many things that Ron has said today, but I have it narrowed down some to a few of our key takeaways from today's conversation. One of which is, when you start your own business, align it like you're a parent. There's different stages that you need to be in. There's different ways to approach situations. Like Rod said, the infancy stage where you have to be very hands-on versus that teenager, middle school age where you approach it when they come to you and go, okay, this is the problem, versus that teenage stage. Really take it on as you're adding that child to the family. And when you do that, there can be a lot more perspective to everything you're doing and a different touch to the approach, as well as never get too proud about things because you can be humbled very quickly. And I love how Rod said this because it is so true. You never know the moment life can hit you, individuals can hit you with knowledge that you think you could be on top of the world, and something can happen and you can be humbled. And it really plays to something else Rod seamlessly put in throughout this show, is that the second you get too big for yourself and for the environment you're in, you could end up building bad relationships, that bad service that Rod also talked about, and it can end up being detrimental to your growth, to business, to relationships, both personally and professionally, as well as sometimes being savvy can be better than being school smart. And I 100%
Yes.
agree on this
Yes.
point. Is education is great, right? I've mentioned on this show, I have
Yeah.
a 3-year certification in every business area, but there's things you have to do sometimes that you're not going to learn in school, that you really have to learn and be savvy with. Your strategy in business is very key. That is not something they're going to tell you in school. You have to pick up the skills, and I think it is really important to understand the difference is between the strength of being school smart sometimes and being savvy, as well as think about how you can take that new idea and make it less risky for yourself. So like Rob was talking about in the show today, he has this building with all this space. So instead of paying for different locations, it's in-house. It's able to be there. It allows him again for that oversight. Well, now he's not paying rent on multiple buildings. It's one spot, easy access in case an issue comes along. So when you have that bright idea, also think about, is there ways I can make it less riskier than what people might have laid out for me as the staple moves I have to make, as well as there's no excuse for giving bad service, which again,
Right.
100% agree with that one. And those of us that can should help those who cannot. And I think that is my favorite of today, because we should all be thinking about how we can give back in more and more ways and how that might look. It doesn't always have to be the big things or those things that people have cut out as the cookie cutters. What are those ways we can help those who cannot help themselves? This was a great episode with our top-notch guest, Rod Sickler. Thank you for listening and have a successful day.
Olivia, I just want to say I think you may be my favorite interviewer of all time. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate those kind words.
I mean them. Thanks.